How do you stop people from communicating? If you can put the right thoughts and ideas in a person's mind when they're young, and you can make them to react to certain thoughts and ideas, you can control how they will think in the future. Let me give you an example. If you have a bad experience and you fall down and you get hurt, and you come to me, and every time you come to me, I use a certain word that will go along with the hurt and pain. Sometimes it could be stereotypes, it could be cursing about someone else or your behavior or the person who had something out there in the environment that you tripped over or something like that. If I keep using that same word or same label, what happens is after a while, you will associate that whole experience with just one word. I can do the same thing on the TV set. I can have you watch certain things on TV that bring up all kinds of thoughts and emotions. And if I say something, perhaps a word or a sentence or a label, during those experiences, when you hear those labels or you hear what is being said, it will bring up the same thoughts, feelings, and emotions that came up when you were watching that thing on TV. Now, if I am an adept person and a manipulator, you see, I can plant the feelings and thoughts on purpose and give you a label to connect those thoughts to you. And then when I use that label or those words, I can bring up the feelings that you had when this horrible thing occurred. The thing about me being able to bring up the feelings that you have instead of the memory is that you won't be able to handle the feelings. If you were able to handle the memories, you see, it would help you grow and help you understand what was being said. But since it comes up as feelings, you can't handle it. It feels bad, it triggers you, it makes you angry or sad, and if you keep hearing the same thing over and over again to make you sad or afraid, the immediate response, the natural response is anger. That is what happens when we get triggered with certain words. These words are but symbols that go somewhere deep in our subconscious and reach past our thinking brain and our cognitive processes to bring out a feeling, and we react to those feelings. And that is why every time you see the news, or every time you hear politicians, or every time you hear other people who are supposed to be fighting for something, there's always a label involved, or many labels involved, because these labels can be attached to greater and deeper things. Most of the time lately, we hear it used this way on the far right extremist side. Sometimes the things they say don't even make sense. They'll just spit out words over and over and over again. Like the word urban is supposed to mean mostly black. We all know that. Look at what feminist is supposed to mean now. Look at what woke is supposed to mean now. You see, they keep repeating the word along with these artificial ideas and thoughts and concepts until what happens is we forget the concepts they have given us. But when we hear the word, we are triggered. We have a feeling. And this feeling says either we go along with the context in which the word is used, or we get angry because it makes us uncomfortable. But if we are aware and intelligent, if we are quote unquote woke, we realize that this trick is going on. We create a place in our mind, a little space between thought and interaction and actions. And when a person brings something up like that, instead of being triggered, this little space is activated. We stop, we look, we search through our memories and our cognitive abilities, and we interact in a way that is positive and intelligent because we know that they are trying to manipulate us and trying to trigger us. Trigger words are used to destroy freedom and to promote injustice. Any word can be made into a trigger word. Liberal was made into a trigger word. Social activist, a trigger word. Justice warrior, a trigger word. Woke, a trigger word. As you can see, the far right is always creating these trigger words over and over again until we can't even talk about the subject anymore. And the same is true, of course, of the liberals. And I'm not talking about all liberals by any means, the reactive liberals. The ones who are always reacting to things instead of being active and being proactive. They seem to fall into the same place because it's so easy to be lazy and to believe stereotypes and ideas about people who we don't really know. We don't really realize that all of these ideas and thoughts have been planted in our heads long ago. We think we're coming up with these thoughts and ideas when what's happening basically is that those feelings that have been planted deep inside are coming up, and the one who is very educated, the liberal, the progressive, will go back to some of the lessons they learned while reading many books and studying, and they will draw an understanding of the feelings coming up as thoughts that correspond to the literature they read before. But these thoughts and that literature, in the context that we are in at the moment, may not make sense at all. So we all find ourselves trapped, living in the past sometimes and bringing that past to the present as people use these words, these symbols, in order to tap into our subconscious and control us. They actually use the things in our language that were supposed to make us be able to communicate better in order to block communication. That is the way of those who are lost and who want power more than anything else in life. And so, as we work in our spiritual quest, as we work in order to break ourselves free from the chains that commonly bind everyone, including the psychological chains, it is very important that we begin to come to terms with our thoughts, and more important than that, our feelings. There are many ways to do that. Feelings and emotions are ways that the body perceives. It is like the body is a very sensitive organ that picks up cues outside of the environment, and when the body picks them up, it transmits those cues as feelings and emotions to the brain. The brain then interacts with these thoughts and feelings, and they translate them into words most of the time, verbal thoughts or visual thoughts, and then we decide how we want to act or react in accordance to what we have picked up. In our society, a problem has occurred. We've learned that all emotions are bad. We learn to block those. We've learned that our feelings have very little meaning. We learn that we are supposed to be rational, that the brain is the only thing that tells us about reality and what is truthful and how to live. So we have learned basically to deaden our feelings and our ideas. And then, since we have deadened them, and that's unnatural, when something occurs, we are flooded with these feelings and thoughts because they have been suppressed so long. It's like having a pot, a teapot, sitting on a fire, boiling and boiling and boiling constantly. And then once the fire's turned up and it hits that point, it has to whistle and blow. That's where we're at. Anger, fear, all of those things just below the surface, waiting to blow up until we deal with those things below the surface. We are not going to be free. In spirituality and personal growth will only be a dream. How do we deal with these things? First of all, we realize that our emotions, anger, fear, all of those things are not good or bad. They are just introductions. They are just invitations. Invitations to go deeper into various thoughts and perceptions. And so they rise up in order to keep us aware of what's going on, not only around us, no, but inside of us. And when we can be aware of what is going inside of us without judging, just purely observing, something begins to happen. The message center begins to work. The connection between the brain and the cognitive abilities and the emotions and the feelings of the body, that connection reconnects and we become whole individuals. And this wholeness is spoken of in Qigong philosophy as being awake, realizing that the whole body, along with the cells, the bones, the teeth, everything, is the brain, the sensory organ. And when we realize this, we also realize that through contemplation and a lot of work, our body does not end at the skin. This is spirituality, practical spirituality. This is what it means to be woke. Previously, woke was meant to believe being aware of all that was going on outside of oneself, which is good. The word came from a long time ago when black people used to ride through the South, where it was very dangerous, and they used to say, "Stay woke, don't go to sleep," as we're driving through because we may have to react any second. That's what it means. And that's what woke is now. We are all aware of what's going on in the system around us, and we are not going to go to sleep and trust in a system that is dangerous and painful and always manipulating, creating stereotypes, creating labels, trying to manipulate us. Staying woke means being able to predict what these people are doing or to see them coming so that we can avoid all of the pain and suffering that this nation under God has had since its beginning and even before its beginning. The pain and suffering that human beings have had because of suppression and oppression, leading to depression. Now, as we become more woke, let us go deeper within and become more woke to the processes happening on the inside. When we do this, we will be whole. When we do this, we will be complete. When we do this, we will do what the Tao would say, move in union with the Tao, which is the mother and the creator of everything that exists and is everything that exists. We will return back to our pure selves, our whole self, our real selves, and we will be free to live in the world as we will, to react in a way that is correct and helpful, to act in a way that is correct and helpful, or not to act at all. It will be our choice, and we will truly be free. Indeed. Thanks for being here. If you like what you're hearing, hit the bell, give us a thumbs up, and pass on this video so that others might hear it and maybe even decide to discuss the content. And if you would like to have us speak on something else, please leave a comment and we will try to accommodate you. It's time for all of us to be woke. The only place woke comes to die is in the head of a person who is so stupid that they'll never see the truth. Namaste, everyone. There's some good stuff in the description, including ways to create and generate passive income. That's always good, right? We will talk to you again very, very soon.